Intelligent talk that's sure to raise the IQ.
Here's Guy Wehman, Ben Brunson, and Frank Vernuccio, Inside the News.
Welcome back to our third segment of Inside the News, and we've got so much to talk about on this. We've got Frank Vernuccio on the top left, Ben Brunson in the bottom middle. My name is Guy Wehman, and thanks to the affiliates and AUN TV and YouTube if you're watching us out there. Okay, the economy, average gas prices, they jump 35 cents a gallon, but there's a whole lot more because the Dems are caught flat-footed. Frank, go.
Well, in more ways than one. Of course, their economic policy is one devised by left-wing elites who simply have no clue what it's like to run a small business or to simply raise a family on a middle-class salary. We've seen small businesses continue to be shut down, and particularly in blue states across the country. It is an intellectual divide as well as a political one. You know, a number of years ago in the election of Richard Nixon, one rather liberal commentator said, "I don't understand how Nixon won. No one voted for him." That is the mentality, I think, of the left in the United States today. They have no concept of small business, no concept of an average working family. Their policies are elitist, make no sense in terms of real economic terms. We are in danger in the United States of losing our small businesses, who are, of course, the engine of economic growth in so many ways. We're seeing the attempted tax increase that the Democrats are going to try to push. They seem to have a divorce in their thinking between the fact that people need jobs and someone has to actually supply those jobs. So when you raise money on taxes, if you want to go back to the era pre-Trump, when the United States had the highest corporate tax rate of any of our developed trading partners, that is going to have an effect of limiting job growth, which we saw throughout the Obama administration. It's as though there is no connection to reality on the part of the Democrats' thinking.
You know, generally a retro type of thing is pretty cool because you go back to the 50s and the shake shops and all those kind of things. But this retro going back to the Obama administration is not a good thing, Ben.
No, unless you like slow growing economy. And we are going to get that under Joe Biden. Look, the policies, as Frank said, are driven by the left. And this, corporations are bad and evil, and we're going to raise taxes on corporations. Corporations can't pay taxes, all right? And in other words, any tax you put on a corporation is a cost of doing business. And like any other cost of doing business, it either gets passed on to that corporation's clients and consumers, or that corporation will go out of business. That's as simple as that. We lowered corporate tax rates in this country down to around 21% because the rest of the world had gone there and we were out of touch and we were losing corporate domiciles at a healthy pace. The UK, of all places, has a 21% corporate tax rate. And when the UK is there, you can't be in a vacuum. You can't be all alone and tax corporations at 35, 36, 38% like we want to do in this country, and without losing your corporate tax base. And that had been happening. And more large global corporations were taking all of their profits and earnings outside the United States. People like Apple, those evil left-wing companies, they were very good at taking their profits out of the US. So this corporate tax law change has allowed those companies to bring back money, repatriate money to the US. It is effectively increased the tax base available to be taxed. So again, we're going to undo that. It looks like that's what the Democrats want to do. They want to raise corporate rates, raise personal rates. But I guarantee you, as I said earlier, they will get rid of that SALT limitation to benefit blue states. And that will effectively be a tax cut on the wealthiest Americans.
All right. Frank Schumer, I think he's in trouble as far as getting reelected. And he's being pushed, I think, so far from the left just to keep his job. And you know what I'm talking about, because there are people that are eyeing that seat from the state of New York that would like to see Schumer out. And I think that's why he's pushing so hard and leaning so hard on the progressive agenda, even more than he was already, Frank.
Well, we said earlier in the program that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her squad are the tail that's wagging the Democrat Party dog. It's the same thing with Chuck Schumer, although he didn't need very much of a nudge. Schumer has always been pretty much on the hard left. Let's not forget, several years ago, it was Chuck Schumer who introduced legislation in the United States Senate to limit the application of the First Amendment. He said it should not apply to paid political speech. So Schumer has always been pretty much on the hard left. But what we're looking at in the Democratic Party is this veneer that there is some illusion of a centrist Democratic Party. There might be one or two isolated Democrats who are still willing to cling to centrist policies, but the reality of it is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and the rest, they are running the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders' policies are running the United States.
Okay, Ben, in pre-production, you said, is Manchin the most powerful guy in the Senate? One can make an argument for that, Ben.
Well, maybe the most powerful person in the country right now. Before the Georgia runoff, Joe Manchin stated that he would oppose all of the liberal dreams. He would oppose packing the court. He would oppose statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico, and he would oppose ending the filibuster in the Senate. Now, I noticed that he's been not as vocal since the Georgia runoff handed the Senate to the Democrats. So I'm very, very concerned that he is up for sale, with some arm twisting from the Democrats. But interestingly, Kristen Sinema, who Trump fought hard to get her defeated, and she won in Arizona, Democrat senator of Arizona, has come out and very forcefully said she opposes ending the filibuster in the Senate. And she may be the savior of our republic. And her people have said that is not up for debate. She is not open to changing her mind. If she holds that position, we may save our republic from some of these crazier things like packing the court and statehood to DC and Puerto Rico, which of course are designed to add 4 more Democrat senators to the Senate. So Kristen Sinema, interestingly vilified by Trump and the Republicans, may be beloved of the Republicans in the very near future if she maintains the stance she is publicly committed to at this point. And it makes Joe Manchin not quite as important.
Frank, you can almost see one of those editorial cartoons where Manchin's being chased by a veterinarian with the clippers to neuter him.
Yeah, of course. Interesting. Ben brought up about the Arizona senator. There are reports that Democrats throughout the Southwest are reacting with horror to the Biden energy plans. I think that could have a very substantial effect on how some of the Democrat representatives from those Southwest states actually vote. I think they've suddenly realized that they're voting against their own constituents' best interest. It's going to be interesting how 2022 is affected by all that. But just on that note, the Republicans need today, now, this second, to start guaranteeing that the 2022 election will not be, and now I'm going to be labeled a domestic terrorist, will not be stolen as the 2020 election was. Right now, the GOP needs to looking into hiring security guards to protect Republican poll watchers so that they are not summarily thrown out of ballot counting and watching the polls as voting is going on. The cheating that went on at 3 o'clock in the morning must never happen again. Republican poll watchers, no poll watchers, Democrat or Republican, should ever be summarily tossed out of where the ballots are being counted. That happened in 2020. Must not happen again. But the Republicans who traditionally go to sleep, for the most part politically, between elections, have got to wake up and play this game with the same intensity as the Democrats do. Only a lot more honestly.
Yeah, we've got to get out. Frank was on a roll. He was going to filibuster to the end of the show here. Impeachment 2.0 coming up. We'll be back.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.